Drum for the Song podcast.
Hello, welcome to episode 8 of Drum for the Song podcast. I am your host, Dane Campbell. Today's guest is probably one of my favourite rock drummers of all time, Mark Richardson from Skunk Anansie. Mark is also known for being one of the drummers in Feeder and another band, Little Angels. I must admit, I am a rather large fan of Skunk Anansie, so this was really special for me. I've never met Mark before, so meeting him like this was really great, and he was such a nice guy. He explained how he originally got into drumming and some of his influences back then, how he joined Skunk Anansie, and actually how he joined Little Angels as well. We talk a little bit about Skunk Anansie singer Skin when she appeared on The Masked Singer. He also delves quite deep into his addiction problems that he had while he was in Skunk Anansie and how he is trying to help others in similar positions. He also describes what it was like joining Feeder after the death and suicide of their drummer Jon Lee and what it was like recording a few albums and touring with Feeder. He also talks about some of his most memorable moments of his career, including headlining Glastonbury Festival. He's also got some really meaningful advice for drummers who like to hit hard. And he's got some advice about how to reduce any injuries. And for any bikers out there, he also talks about one of his hobbies, biking around the world. And he's done some really great charity work with that as well. As always, I hope you're all following me on social media. On Instagram and Twitter, you can find my personal account under Dane_drums, or you can follow Drum for the Song. On Facebook, you can find me at Dane Campbell Drummer, and you can also join the Drum for the Song official Facebook group. Make sure you're subscribing to wherever you're listening, whether that be on YouTube or Spotify or Apple or any of the other outlets. And don't forget to share this episode with any of your drumming friends or fans of Skunk Anansie or Feeder or Little Angels. I'd like to apologise in advance for some of the moments of this podcast where the audio gets a little bit crazy. We didn't have the best internet connection when we did this interview. I've tried to clean some of them up, but there are a few sections that still remain. But hopefully you can just get past those. Let's get straight to the interview with Mark now. But at the end, I will talk about my Patreon page in case anyone is interested in joining up for some exclusive content like bonus episodes and Q&A sessions with me. Enjoy!
Drum for the Song podcast.
So hi guys, this is Drum for the Song. I'm really lucky today. I've got Mark Richardson from Skunk Anansie today. How's it going, Mark?
Good, thanks, man. Very well, thank you. Yeah, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm kind of getting used to the idea that I don't know when this situation is going to change and we'll be able to play gigs again, but I'm being hopeful about it all for next year. I guess that's the same with you guys. You haven't played a show this year as far as I'm aware.
No, and our tour's been postponed from October, obviously, this year to May and June next summer, basically. So
that'd be great.
It's frustrating, but it's the same for everyone. I think the most frustrating thing really is the fact that government just don't seem to be paying the arts much attention at all. You know, they just think, well, I don't know what they're thinking. They're not thinking anything. They're just like ignoring us.
I know,
it's really bizarre.
It is strange because they announced a few months ago that they were going to put all these millions into the arts, and from what I've seen, most of it has gone to museums and posh things. I don't know if that's the right way of describing it, but like a few people that I know that work in like small venues said they haven't seen anything. It hasn't got to that level. It hasn't got to that ground level at all. And I know a lot of guys.
Friends of ours in Guildford who run the Boiler Room. They've run crowdfunding campaigns to try and keep everyone going, and it's dire. It's dire that they're looking down. The possibility of not being able to, be there as a grassroots venue, and that's really, the big O2s and whatnot are probably going to survive, but it's the grassroots venues that are going to suffer. Crowbar's gone down, hasn't it? That rock venue in London.
Yeah,
that's the latest casualty I heard on the news today. So, or when this goes out last week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you heard about that as well, and that was a bit of a shock to me. I've been there a few times. I remember my old booking agent always used to take us there whenever we had a London show, and it was always full of other kind of industry people, which was a bit weird. But that's a shame to hear about that, because I've had some good times there. But hopefully they can. Well, I don't know. I think now they know that the second wave is, I guess, a sure, judging by the numbers, whether they've got another magic money tree somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. What are they going to do now? Are they going to do the same again?
Exactly. I don't know, but I doubt it. But if the furlough thing, because obviously with self-employed people, not just in the arts, but I think, there's so many guys who are at the loose end.
Yeah.
That were kind of doing okay with the kind of self-employment furlough money that lasted 6 months, I think. And now that ended in August, and there's no shows coming up as far as I'm aware. So
no, there's very, very few, and the ones that are happening socially distanced,
I don't
level are very, very few and far between.
Yeah.
So it's really tough. And I'd really like to just express gratitude to all the crew and everyone as well that we've had over the years, and who there's thousands of out there without a job, and who are on a daily rate mostly, and self-employed, and my heart goes out to them all, because it's really, really tough.
It is
really tough out there.
Yeah, I agree, man. But hopefully next year we can all make a little bit more if it all goes away. But then let's talk about how you originally got into drumming then. And how old were you, and what inspired you, and biggest influences?
Do you want to go just back, or do you want to go right back?
Go right back. Yeah, go on.
Right. Okay. I'll do it quickly.
Yeah.
So I'll talk you up to the beginning of Little Angels, hopefully in quite a short period of time. So I was 3 years old when my nan got me my first tin drum, and I was sitting there like bam bam, smashed the crap out of that quite quickly. And by the time I was 6, I'd been going around to a mate's house, Neil he was called, and I was playing on his kit. He just happened to have a kit, and then that one disappeared one day, and because he said he'd sold it to get a new one, and my dad had bought it for me for Christmas. So that was my first kit, and that was a Ludwig Junior, which I wish I still had, because it would be the lovely sort of. Yeah, from that I went to, so that's 3 till 6 years old. I played at home, taught myself, played along to records, your dad's band, Iron Maiden, all of that stuff, Black Sabbath, Queen, just played along to it on headphones back then, and we just had these little cassette decks and massive headphones. So I would just play along to that. I actually started playing along to Dad's record collection, which was sort of Buddy Holly, Elvis, and ABBA, and Simon and Garfunkel, and all that stuff. And that's really where I learned the real basics. Just playing 4/4 along to everything, basically. But that's all there was on mostly on those records. So once I'd got the sort of pattern down, which came fairly quickly, then I was really early on focusing on how it felt, which is really always really important to me, that it felt good and that it flowed. And but focusing on transitions came a bit later. But that was kind of my early memories of getting better. Was this feels a bit sticky. How can I make that feel better? So so that was from 6 till 14. I basically played on my own along to records, and I had about 6 lessons, but I hated it.
Really?
So yeah, I didn't like it at all. It was just boring. It was very, very boring to me. I wanted to be playing along to my favourite bands, you know.
Right.
So then I'm playing at school. I'm just practicing on the school kit one day, and a mate walks past them and goes, "I never knew you played drums," you know. And so we formed our first band, which I think was called Sharp Edge or something like that, or Black Ice, or something really, really sort of first band. It was a real good first band name, you know.
Yeah.
And then we ended up playing for one song for the school dance, supporting the teachers' band, which is called the Gels, and they played a load of covers for the school dance.
That's cool.
So we went on as like a support and played "Run to You" by Bryan Adams, and that was it. And I was hooked. I was hooked by sort of growing up with very little kind of confidence and quite low self-esteem. It was something that filled me up. You know, doing that one song in front of all those people. My fellow cohort at that school was kind of like, oh my God, they're all looking at me. Like nobody ever looks at me, you know, that sort of thing. And then all of a sudden we finished and they went nuts. And I was like, oh yeah, give me more of this. So from that point on, every decision I made was to that end, was I need to get in a band and that's what I need to do for a living. So I had every job up and down the high street for years. I didn't care what it was. It was just, I just need to buy drumsticks and drum heads and save up for a better kit. And that's it. Every decision I made was to be able to play drums for a living. And from Whitby, I grew up in a little northeast fishing town called Whitby, and I went to college in Scarborough, and I met this band called Little Angels, who we know as Little Angels now, but at the time they were called Mr. Thrud, and they had a residency at the local theatre.
That's cool.
And I was sort of in bands, like, you know, I was that guy in that band that did everything. I made the posters, I booked the gigs, I had a car, I had an estate, obviously, because I'm a drummer. So
yeah.
I did everything basically, and I just got to the point where, like, I need to meet people that are doing better than me, who can bring me on, because I wasn't getting anywhere doing what I was doing. So I found this band called Mr. Thrud, and they had this residency, which at the time was quite an amazing thing. And they'd sold out the ground floor of the Royal Opera House in Scarborough, which is about 1,500 people, just from doing local gigs and playing in York and what have you. And I just made a nuisance of myself, and I went there to their residency every week, and I eventually got to know them, and they're like, who the hell is this kid who's just hanging around us all the time, you know? But I was persistent, and I got to know him a little bit, proved that I wasn't a nutter. I was just a nice kid who was interested in what they were doing. Started helping them load and unload, and got there early to help them unload, stayed late to help them load up and finish off, and became quite good friends with them, especially Toby, the singer, who I stayed in touch with quite a lot. And I'd send him demos of the bands that I was in, and he'd, you know, give us advice and, you know, see how to try and help us improve and whatnot. And that's how I met them. Mr. Thrud then signed to Polydor. They got a deal with Song Management first, and then they got a deal with Polydor Records shortly after that. And and they'd had a couple of drummers. Dave Hopper was the first one, and he struggled in the studio with his nerves quite a lot. So they, I'm not sure whether they replaced him or he left. So they needed to find another drummer.
Yeah,
but. The next one was Michael Lee, who I'm sure you know, and he did the first 2 records with them, and then he went off to join the Cult.
Right.
So here's a story. So before I get to the end of my little story, here's a little sub story.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So how I get my break in the music industry is a direct result of Steven Adler's heroin addiction, and this is how it goes. So Steven Adler in Guns N' Roses, he gets fired for having a terrible heroin addiction, bless him. And so Matt Sorum from the Cult joins Guns N' Roses, which leaves Stool in the Cult, which Michael Lee leaves Little Angels to fill. And then, lo and behold, Little Angels one day they give me a call, commitments we need to fulfill. Will you come and help us do that? Because, you know, we kind of want a Scarborough lad, you know, or a Yorkshire lad to kind of stuff from got the same background and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I went down to London to help him out with a TV show, which was Jim Will Fix It. Remember, I don't know if you're probably not old enough to remember, but
it's strange because I
there was
obviously
a
know more
TV
about
show on regularly on a Saturday, I think it was, a weekend, and it was Savile, and it was called Fix It, and he used to fix it for the kids to, you know, make their dreams come true, you know, and he'd have them come and sit on his knee on the show and all this stuff. And I mean, I'm laughing, but it's really not funny. You know?
Yeah. It's not.
So that was my first kind of professional engagement, really. And then the following day, they said, "Oh, we need some drums. We need some drums replacing on some demos that we've done. Will you come to the Samurai Studios?" I think it was down London Bridgeway, and so I went down to the studio and replaced a load of these drum drum parts that had been done by a machine, and they liked what I did, and they asked me to join, and that was, you know, a combination of addiction, which is ironic because I'd have my own problems later on.
Oh, right.
Steven Adler's addiction, rather, and my own sort of tenacity and resilience, and just attitude of I'm not going to give up on this, you know. And I just never gave up. And eventually, Toby called me and said, "Will you come and help us out?" And that's what led to everything. Really, awesome. That's really the cornerstone that my whole career was built on. You know, these four guys. And Kevin Nixon, the manager, actually, just taking a punt on this little kid from Scarborough who they didn't really. They'd seen me play a bit, but so they knew I could play. But it was my first experience also of understanding that it's not about being like a massively technical player. It's about doing what's best for the song. Exactly. And that's what I've always done. That's what I always have done. I've never been massively technical. Anyone who knows me, who knows my playing, is like, yes, I do some complicated stuff within songs, but I'm not a soloist, or, you know, I don't practice that stuff. I love to play along to music and bands and be part of the whole musical picture. And it was 50% that, and 50% being somebody that they could get on with, somebody that they could tour with, somebody that they could have a laugh with and have a beer with, you know.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because
that's really the story. Like, go on, mate.
Oh, sorry, I had a little bit of a delay then. I was going to say, but that's what half of it is about, them getting on with you. It's not about your drumming skills and how good a drummer you are. Are you a decent human being to be around? Basically.
Exactly, because you can be, you know, Thomas Lang sort of level player and be an absolute twat, and who's going to want to tour with that? You know, nobody.
Exactly.
So, you know, of course, there's wonderful people with that level of talent as well, but, you know, I think they're quite rare.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, 50% playing, not 100% playing, and 50% personality, and that was the same in Skunk Anansie. So.
And you're still there, so that's good. But that's amazing that you said that, because I've always thought of yourself as being one of those kind of ideal drummers where you're clearly capable of a lot, but at the end of the day, you're just playing what's best for the song, and that's the name of this podcast, is Drum for the Song. So
Yeah,
I firmly believe in that myself, and
right.
I'm not really a show off drummer at all, but I think it's very
Right.
important, and I think it's something you need to learn. Um,
Yeah, I think these days, especially with the amount of colleges and music schools and that there are now that are teaching you how to read and practice and do all that stuff. You know, it's easy to get lost in the technicalities of playing. It's easy to get lost in the minutiae of like, oh, that's a paradiddle diddle. But if I start it on the left hand and do a ratamacue in the middle, then what does that? You know, it's like, who gives a fuck? It's like, what are you playing it to, and what's everyone else doing? You know, and that's always my starting point for writing any song. It's like, okay, what's going on? Let me just start with the basic feel of what I think could sit underneath what's happening on the guitar and bass, and then it morphs from there. You know, it never stays the same. It's always a group effort. It's always you know, well, it's a band. It's a
yeah,
group of people writing music, and that's how we've always done it, and that's how we still do it. We hire a barn on a farm in Devon, and
nice.
we go down and we go there for a week at a time, and we write songs, and it's awesome. You know, we love it. I mean, we haven't done it this year much, but
No,
we've only been once this year, but it's great fun. You know, that's where it's at for me. It's just like, that really excites me. That really makes me happy. It's just that creative process of 4 people in a room, just like smashing out riffs and, you know, figuring it out, like
yeah,
putting it
yeah.
together like a jigsaw puzzle.
No, that's brilliant. I was actually going to ask what the writing process was like. So you've already answered that. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Well,
it,
I mean, there's a few ways really. That's one of them. Skin also used to write with Len Aaron, who was in the first sort of connotation of Skunk Anansie, was
okay,
under another name, Mama Wild, I think, which didn't work. But the writing partnership between Skin and Len was good, and they wrote quite a few of the sort of ballads together that have been popular. Maybe not so much in the UK, but certainly over in Europe.
is that right? Yeah, well, you have a lot of
Yeah,
great ballads in your discography.
yeah,
You
yeah,
kind of, there's always like 2 or 3 amazing ones every album. So
yeah. I think we're sort of a band of extremes, really. We're quite angry a lot of the time. Or certainly, you know, Skin's got a lot of things that she wants to talk about, a lot of issues
yeah,
that need talking about, and but then we've got this stupidly romantic side, which is sort of bolstered by the fact that Skin's got amazing capabilities of melody and putting these amazing lyrics together. So it's sort of there's not much in between. I suppose My Ugly Boy would sit in between,
oh yeah, yeah.
as would a few other tracks, but it's either sort of like raging indie punk or hedonism. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I know what you mean.
it's weird. We're such a weird band in that respect, but
Well, it's great.
you know, hey, it
I think
works.
it works. You've got, obviously you've got a unique sound, which is obviously helped by Skin's kind of. She's got such a, well, versatile
Yeah,
voice, but she just nails it, and unique sounding voice. Which
yeah,
I was going to mention. I didn't really watch it properly, but the Masked Singer. I don't know if any of our UK listeners watched that, but everyone was talking about it online, and I was like, I got to see what this is about. And I watched one episode with my wife, and the duck
yeah,
came on, and I was like, that's Skin, Skunk Anansie, and she was
yeah,
like, oh, like she's. I don't think she's heard as much of your stuff as I have, but I was just like,
yeah.
I'm pretty certain that's Skin,
Yeah.
and it was funny because Skin did a double bluff online by saying, "Oh, what's everyone talking about? Everyone's texting me about some duck." So I was like, "Oh, I reckon she's double bluffing there." And then,
Yeah,
but
yeah. She had to. She had to. She couldn't contractually give away
yeah,
and
cool.
one iota of evidence that it was her. You know, so everything she said about it had to be like, no, it's not me. It's not me. It's not me.
That's fair enough.
So it was quite shocking at first to find out, because we didn't even know. She couldn't even tell us.
Oh, I was going to ask, were you in on it? Did you know about it? That's mad.
No. Yeah, I think she knew that if she asked us whether we thought it was a good idea or not, we'd also, what, you're going to be dressed up as a fucking duck on national television? No, it's a bad idea.
Yeah,
it was a brilliant idea,
yeah,
because it brought band back into the mainstream consciousness. So it was, and she was dead right. We would have all gone, fuck no, we don't want you to do that.
yeah.
That's really, it's really not us. But actually, what it did was, like I said, it just brought Skunk Anansie back from the 90s back into the consciousness of most people who watch Saturday night television. And you can just hear the thousands of people going, oh God, I remember Hedonism, I remember Week, just, we got so many messages going, oh my God, Skin's on Saturday night telly,
Yeah.
So it was interesting. Yeah, it was good. It was a
Yeah,
very brave thing to do, actually. Very brave thing to do, because it could have gone horrendously wrong.
Well, yeah, exactly. It could have. But yeah, hopefully it did help. And I think it must have been after that. And you did it. Is it last year now? I'm so confused with the time. And you did I came to see you in Cardiff University. And I think that was after that. I think.
Yeah.
But it was rammed. It was awesome. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
But and obviously Skin's got a book coming out now. So I'll give her a little plug. She's got an autobiography, and she's just got engaged, I believe, as well. So congratulations to Skin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's engaged and extremely happy by the looks of it. So
great.
And Lady's amazing. So she's, they're a great team. They're a great pair, and great couple rather. And best of luck to them.
Yeah, awesome. So
and the book, I read the bits. I've only read the bits that I've been included in, because we had to touch on my sort of addiction struggles and whatnot. And so I've read those bits and approved them, and it's pretty good read from what I've read. So I think I'm looking forward to reading it. I haven't got my copy yet. I'm waiting for my signed copy.
Oh yeah, that'd be good. Would you be comfortable talking about some of the addiction stuff, just in case anyone else might find it helpful? Absolutely, yeah. No,
I suppose I always considered myself like a heavy drinker, really, but it was always that way. I mean, it's just how it was where I grew up. You sort of went drinking after work and had a couple of pints after work, and that was normal. But there was a point where it became, when I was on tour and my personal life was falling to bits, where I really sort of dove into that. And then when I couldn't drink anymore, I'd be looking for the Coke, and so I'd be on the Coke, and then I'd be drinking more, and then it was just like every day for about 2 years, for the whole of the post-orgasmic chill tour, basically.
Oh wow!
I was crawling into bed at 10 o'clock in the morning from the crew bus, getting onto our bus just before everybody woke up, and just pretending like I'd had a good night's sleep. And I was in this world of pain, this world of sort of addiction that I couldn't stop, I couldn't talk about, I had no one to talk to about it, and my personal life was falling to bits. So it was absolutely horrendous, and it all came to a head in London in 2000, where I had a big 30th birthday party at my place, and I rang Skin, and I was clearly, 3 sheets to the wind, and God, I have no idea what I was saying, and she basically, read me the riot act and said, because Robbie, the first drummer, had left because there was a bit of a booze problem there as well. So they sort of said, you can't do this. It doesn't. doesn't work with us. It doesn't work with this band, and what we want to achieve. And so he said, well, I'm going to do what I want to do. And he left. And so I joined, and a few years later, I had the same sort of struggles.
Oh,
but she sort of rang me and said, you can't do this. You can't sort of be in this band and act that way. So sort it out or you're out, kind of thing. And so initially I didn't know what to do, because I knew nobody, like I said, where I come from, probably very similar to where you come from. It's just culture and to reach out for help in that respect. But I didn't want to keep going the way I was going, but I didn't know how to change either. So long story short, my manager found a guy on Harley Street that was sort of industry guy, I suppose, and had sort of helped a couple of musicians along the way. Right. I went to see him, and he said, "You're an alcoholic, you need to go to AA." So initially I was like, fuck off, I'm not an alcoholic, But a few more weeks of trying it my own way and not being able to stop still, and I thought, well, maybe I'd take his advice and give it a go. So I went to AA, and that helped me to stop drinking. I don't like it I don't go anymore. That was 20 years ago, and I haven't had a drink since. But
oh, wow.
I've been sober 20 years,
Amazing.
nearly, and it's been the best thing I've ever done. Honestly, it's the best thing I've ever done for myself and for my family and my son and all that stuff. But it wasn't easy, and as a result of, I think the main thing to say about it all was that as a result of not being able to find information easily, I vowed to myself that I would one day try and make that right and try and change that. There was a bit of a mental health kind of, I guess it became okay to talk about it 2 or 3 years ago. There was a big boom in sort of talking about mental health and addiction, and I'm sure you remember, and that spurred me on to get together with a mate of mine, and then with two other industry people, we formed Music Support, which is a charity for everyone in the music industry, no matter what they do, whether a musician or a drum tech or a chef or a manager or an agent. They can, if the shit hits the fan in their life, they can call us. Wow. And we will signpost them to where they need to go. So, which is basically what I didn't have and what I really needed when I was in the sort of the worst part of my sort of addiction, my rock bottom, I guess people call it. When I was at rock bottom and I didn't know what to do, I needed a number to call, and we wanted to make it like the Childline helpline, so we wanted to make it as obvious as that. It's like, okay, if you're struggling, musician, if you're struggling with addiction and you're in the music industry, you call Music Support and they'll signpost you to to the help that you need, and that's kind of what we've achieved. So just to sum that bit up, it was hell, it was really, really not very nice, and I did manage to get help over a long period of time. I found sobriety and managed to stay sober, and I've helped others all the way along, and then started Music Support, which hopefully will continue for a long time, helping lots of others. So, but now, we've got like Help Musicians UK, who also do, who sort of looked at what Music Support are doing and now have taken on a lot of mental health stuff as well. So they've now taken on that mantle, which is great because they have a lot. They used to be the Musicians Benevolent Fund, so they have an awful lot of money behind them to be able to put things into action very quickly. So They for example, they did a Music Minds Matter report. So they just were able to pay for a survey and a report to be done on how it's called "Does Music Make You Sick?" You can look it up online.
Okay.
And it's really interesting read, actually. Basically, what it says is that if you're messed up, if you have, I don't know, say you have a motorcycle accident and you're in rehab, and part of the rehab is music, it really helps you to recover. Like, it's a really, really amazing tool for recovery. But if you're in the business of making your living out of music, i.e. writing, recording, touring, drum teching, any of those jobs within the music industry, it's a really stressful industry to be in, and it actually can damage it. It's really easy to damage your health, your physical health and your mental health, by making a living in the music industry. So it's really interesting, because the results of the music industry are incredibly beneficial for everyone who listens to it or goes to concerts. But for those of us making it, it's not so cut and dried, really.
No, that's so inspiring, and I think I always hear of lots of people speak that the younger bands now are a bit more clued up to the drugs and the alcohol.
Yes.
And there seems to be less kind of, I don't want to use the word casualty, but there's less people going that way. It still happens, obviously, but I think I think back, like in the 80s and the 90s, it was kind of, that was what was part of that was the world of music, and that's what it involved by the sound of it. You read all these, you watch these films, you hear all these, read these books, and that was just part of it. And I think now, because you're seeing the state of some of these older musicians, if they're still around, and you learn from it, and you're like, well, I want to look after myself. I want to look after my body, look after my health. So and obviously now there's more tools. There's more places to actually find some help. You've got the internet. There's loads of things on there, which I guess in the early 90s there wasn't a lot of internet around. It's obviously completely different to what it'd be like now, but no, it's such a great story. So thanks for sharing that. It's amazing.
No.
That's good. I've frozen. I know you've frozen a few times for me. But
sorry, I missed that last bit, man.
I'm just saying, thanks for sharing the story.
No problem.
I think hopefully it'll help, anyone else who listens to this and might be secretly having a problem, or they might think, oh, have I got a problem? I don't know. There are places you can seek help.
There is, and I do get messages on Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of stuff saying, how did you get sober? I don't know what to do. I'm really struggling, and I help every single. I don't reply to every single message, but I read most of them, and if there's one like that, then I will do whatever I can to help them out.
Amazing, great.
So, I think if I could say one thing about it, it's that you're not alone. If you are out there and you are struggling with addiction or mental health issues, it's very easy to think that there's shame in asking for help, and actually you're not alone. There's a lot of other people out there with similar problems, and I think that's more in the differences between people talking about this stuff, because you can easily look at somebody and go, oh, I'm just this little kid from Whitby, nobody wants to listen to me. But then I'm sitting opposite a guy who's got millions of pounds, and he's sitting in the same room as me, and he can't stop drinking either, and that's what we have in common. And that's the power of helping someone else, is when you sit opposite somebody with the same struggle. It doesn't matter what you've got, who you are, you have the same struggle, which is, I can't stop drinking and I just don't want to drink today. So so addiction doesn't care, it has no morals. It doesn't care who you are, how much going to get you, it's going to get you. So there's always somebody out there to help. It's just about asking the right people.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for that, man.
No worries.
Do you mind talking about how? So now I know the story a little bit more.
Yeah.
After post-orgasmic chill, uh, didn't Skunk Anansie have a little bit of a break? Oh,
Yeah.
hiatus.
Yeah, we
Was
split up. Yeah.
it was an actual split?
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I wasn't
It
sure
was
on that situation.
it was a split because we all had stuff. It wasn't just me. I mean, we all had stuff
Right.
going on. Skin wanted to do a solo record. Um, Ace wanted to do a solo record. There was just loads of stuff going on.
Okay. Fair
And
enough.
uh, my part to play in it was that, I was just being a little bit difficult, I guess, and I was struggling with it. I was struggling with the success of the band, and I was struggling with being away from home all the time, and
Yeah.
and I had the struggle that I just sort of described. So we all just kind of started to. We stopped really communicating on a friendship level.
Wow.
We stopped communicating properly, or as well as we had been, and I think if we were honest about it, we stopped being totally honest with each other. And when that happens, it's always obvious. So
Yeah.
I think it was better to split up and not. Well, there's different opinions on this. I would rather have stayed together and made a couple of shit albums,
Yeah.
but Skin would definitely say it's better to split up than make a couple of shit albums.
Yeah. Well, exactly, because you don't have any shit albums, so it was obviously.
Thanks very much.
It was better.
So
But,
I missed that. Sorry, mate.
sorry, I think we're both freezing, so apologies if you're listening.
What was that?
We've got a bit of an unstable internet connection, so we keep freezing at different
Right.
times. So
Keeps
sorry.
freezing.
Yeah, it's a bit of, but it doesn't matter. It's okay. We can work through it. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. So I was going to say, obviously is it 2002 you joined Feeder? Sadly,
Yes.
after the tragic death of their drummer, Jon Lee. So
Yeah.
how did they find you? Was there a story there?
So yeah. So after Little Angel, going back a bit, after Little Angels, Jimmy, Bruce, and myself, Jimmy and Bruce being keyboards and guitar from Little Angels respectively, we formed a band called Blow, and which was like a bluesy kind of rock band, like Hendrixy,
Nice.
kind of thing. Really, really good band, good little band actually. The mates, Dane putting on vocals, and Nick was the UK like extensively, but it was so extensive. We had no money, so we used to sort of just take tents and sleeping grounds. Just stayed wherever we could. We held competitions all the time to stay in fans' houses or in their camping their gardens or whatever. And if we couldn't find a fan in the town we were playing, then we'd just stay in the local graveyard or whatever.
In a graveyard.
Yeah, we used to stay in graveyards and all sorts of weird places, parks, and anywhere we could get away with, really, which was obviously better in the summer than the winter. But and Feeder had released their first EP, Swim, I think it was called, I think, and they were on that tour with us,
right,
that year, supporting us, and then. When I went joined Skunk, they also supported us on a European tour one time, all over Europe for about 6 weeks, I think it was. So that's how I got to know him. And Jon and I were obviously really good mates, and he was at my fateful 30th birthday party, actually.
Oh,
so
wow.
I blame him.
Oh God.
But him and Brian and from Placebo and
really.
anyway, that was Anyway, so what was I saying? Yeah, so Feeder supported Skunk around Europe, and they supported Blow around the UK. And so when Jon died, it wasn't very long after that he died that Grant called me and said, "Will you replace him?" You know, because the only way Grant could cope with what had happened was to write songs and to carry on doing what, you know, that's how he copes with life, you know, and that's such a good way to cope with tragedy and with, you know, is to put it positively into creating music. You know, it's such a wonderful legacy for him and for Jon and for Jon's family. You know, that the comforting sound came out of that horrendously sad situation. You know, and it's one of my favorite records that I've recorded is that record.
Yeah, it's great
because it just I'd hit a point in my playing where I didn't feel like I needed to prove myself anymore, because I'd done two Skunk records, Stush and
Post-orgasmic chill.
Post-orgasmic chill. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
After getting old, you know. And then I did this record with Feeder and Tucker and Grant, and it just it was such an easy record to make. You know, it was. I don't know. It was strange. It was strange because they were so clearly upset. It was very soon, quite soon. It was that following summer,
right
after he died, that we went and recorded it. It was just a really great sounding record. The parts, I was really happy with the parts. I wasn't really thinking about anything. Grant knew exactly what he could hear every song finished in his head. So, you know, parts wise, you know, there wasn't that much experimentation going on. It was just like, you know, yeah, that's it. That's what I'm hearing. And so we put it down, and you know, it's one of my favorite records, one of my favorite recording experiences, I should say.
Amazing.
And I love the sound of it as well. We recorded it at Great Linford Manor in the ballroom, you know, and just had these big baffles up around the kit, and it was good. It was good. It was a lovely time.
Yeah, man.
But tinged with this horrendous, you know, sort of tragic event. So
yeah, that's true. I'm gonna go. Well, I remember buying that record when it came out, so I'm gonna go and listen to it tomorrow, because I haven't listened to it for many years. It's been a while since I
put it on the other day, and I was just like, just love this record.
Yeah,
you know, it's just a great record.
Yeah, man. So anyone check that out? Feeder, Comforting Sound. Mark is playing drums on it. So you obviously did a few albums with Feeder, and you toured with them for a few years. How did that end, and Skunk Anansie reform? How did that kind of work out? Was that a decision you had to make, or?
Well, when I joined Feeder, I would, you know, I said the only thing that I have to do is that I'm contractually obligated to do a greatest hits with Skunk at some point. I don't know when.
Okay.
But when it happens, I'll have to go and do it, and you know, that was obviously fine because the band was split up at that point. So but we did Comforting Sound, Pushing the Senses, and what was the other one? Silent Cry. Those are three records I recorded with Feeder, and we came to the end of the touring cycle for Silent Cry, and what was it? I can't remember which was the last one, but it was either Silent Cry or Pushing the Senses.
I can't help you with that one. I can't
remember. And I got a call from Skunk manager Lee, and she said, you know, we're going to do this greatest hits. We'll have a meeting about it, and so I went and did that, and and it sort of kind of fell after that third Feeder record.
Okay.
But I wanted to do both really, and I kind of could have done for a few years, not for very long, but I could have, done the session playing thing for Feeder and done the Skunk thing, because the industry was changing at that point, not as massively as it has now, but it was starting to really change. So bands weren't touring for as long. They weren't selling as many records, but it was a massive changeover period where record sales were going down, streams, downloads were illegal. Downloads were like massive at that point.
Yeah,
and but touring still hadn't taken over the main income stream yet.
Yeah.
So I basically wanted to do both, and but Grant wanted to, quite rightly so, he wanted to have a new band. He wanted to have a new drummer, which was Carl Brazil, who came in and did a fantastic job.
He was good.
Fantastic drummer. Now plays with Robbie France, I think. Not Robbie France, Robbie Williams.
Yeah, I think was he already playing with Robbie Williams? I don't remember.
He maybe was actually. He maybe was. Yeah. Anyway, great session player, and
yeah.
So they got Carl in, and I rejoined Skunk Anansie. So Skunk Part 2.
Yeah. Well, that worked out well anyway. So, and it's still going today. So that's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
What would be the most positive, memorable moment of your career so far?
God, there's been so many. I mean, God, I did a photo exhibition in Milan. I've done a master's in music industry innovation. I've done the charity. I think music support is a huge positive thing. A positive aspect to have come out of quite a dark place, that sprang from quite a dark place initially, and is having fantastic, is providing lots of support and help for lots of people.
Yeah.
Now, we met the Dalai Lama and
wow,
and we played for Nelson Mandela's 80th birthday party, and there's just there's just so much, Dane. I honestly,
wow, okay,
it's really hard to pinpoint. I think headlining Glastonbury was pretty cool, and that was pretty amazing, and that came at a time when we were doing really well in Europe, and the UK was just kind of dying on its arse for us, and all the press were going, why are these people headlining, Glastonbury, the last Sunday night of the millennium sort of thing, and we came back, and I put war paint on my face, and we went out and absolutely smashed it, and we just let the music do the talking, and we were like, that's why we're headlining.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're capable of it, and we're capable of, absolutely giving. This is what we do. It's what most people don't realise when they listen to a Skunk record, is that they might go, oh, that's all right. But then if you walk into a Skunk Anansie concert and we come on stage, it's a very different thing. Even if you don't like the music, you can't help but be just be smashed in the face by Skin initially, just like, oh my God, she's amazing. And I know that because it happened to me before I joined.
Before you joined, right. Yeah.
Yeah. When I joined Skunk, I went to see Therapy at Rock City, and we walked in, and Skin literally was just running on stage. We walked through the doors at Rock City, and Skin was literally running on stage as the Skunk Anansie with a support band. And they absolutely blew me away.
Yeah.
But I remember saying to my mate at the time, I was like, this is the sort of band I want to be in, because I was in Blow at the time. And this is the sort of music I want to play. And lo and behold, a week later, Blow and Skunk were both nominated for Best New British Band at the Kerrang Awards. And I drunkenly went over to Skin, and I was like, oh, I saw your band last week, absolutely amazing, doing a bit of networking, let's call it.
Networking. That's the correct. That's the term, isn't it?
Not brown nosing.
Yeah.
Networking. And I was like, oh my God, you guys killed me. You know, it's the best. It was literally the best band I'd seen live.
Yeah.
God, I don't know, in a very, very long time. And she went, oh, well, our drummer's only temporary. And I said, well, that's good, because he was a bit crap. I think I said shit. I think that's good, because he's shit.
Wow.
And you know, you need somebody, meaning what I meant to say was you need somebody like, you need a powerhouse in the middle at the back there, you know, because Louis is a great player, but he was one of these guys who sort of played like this, and nothing wrong with that, but it just wasn't right for Skunk Anansie. You know, they needed somebody who was absolutely going for it, like the three at the front were. Yeah, you know, and fortunately for me, that she said, oh, well, that's kind of fortunate, because Louis is temporary and he's just helping us out. So come for an audition, and so I went for an audition, and
wow. That's how it
went. And again, I went for recorded some stuff for them for the Strange Days film, and that was a bit of a test in the studio, and then I got that gig. So
amazing.
I can't remember why I started talking about that now, but anyway.
Memorable moments we were talking about, basically.
Memorable moments, so, yeah. So that
Kerrang Awards.
Getting the phone call from Toby saying, will you come down to help us out? You know, thinking, oh my God, this could be my big break.
Yeah.
And then Little Angels splitting up and starting Blow, and then bumping into Skin, and that whole thing kicking off, and then getting the call from Grant to say, you know, will you come and join Feeder? And
amazing.
I mean, it's just been a ridiculous ride, really. And I have to say, after every band has split up, I've held my hands up and gone, you know, that was probably my shot, you know. Certainly after Little Angels, I was like, well, that was amazing while it lasted, you know. It's getting really dark in here. Is that all right?
That's fine. Yeah, don't worry. That's cool. I can see you well. Honestly, it's fine.
Okay.
So
all right.
good.
I was going to put that
no
on,
worries.
But,
all good.
And then after Skunk split again, I was like, well, you know, that's been incredible. We've achieved a lot, and we sold a lot of records. I think we sold 6.5 million records or something like that when people bought records. So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
Pretty cool.
I remember seeing you on Top of the Pops and stuff like that.
Yeah, Top of the Pops, and Chris Evans loved us. You know, he had us on his I think it was TFI Friday show. Whenever we had anything out, like he'd say, "Come and be on the show. Come and be on the show." He loved us. You know,
well, rightly so.
Thank you very much.
And I saw I think it was on either Skins or Skunk Anansie's Instagram. It was a postcard with you. I think it was you, Ace, Skin, Lemmy, and my dad, like a little Polaroid. And like Lemmy said, one of the best bands I've ever seen. So
yeah, I know.
It just shows how good you were live, really.
Well, you know, Motorhead for us were like this, like awesome band that we all looked up to, you know, and we were just in the same town, or your dad was playing in the next day or something, or they played the previous day and they were still there.
Yeah.
And they came down to our show, or they were passing through in the I don't know. It was something like that, you know. We were in the same sort of area.
Yeah.
And they came down to the show, and I remember looking over, seeing Lemmy at the side of the stage. What the fuck is Lemmy doing at the side of the stage? And then just absolutely bricking it, you know, and thinking, oh my God, it's like, and then that, you know, and then he courted us with Motorhead albums on the bus afterwards, going, you know, this next song, and he'd talk us through the song, and it'd be blisteringly loud, you know, and everyone was drunk and having a great time, and it was just one of the best memories, you know, we've got of Lemmy and you know, your dad and Mickey, and just brilliant, and just all sitting around having a beer and listening to Motorhead.
I think a lot of people said I've had a similar experience where, especially if he had a new album that wasn't out yet, you like to show like even fans and guys in other bands or guests, oh, listen to the new album.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he'd
yeah,
like,
yeah.
he'd blast out the tracks.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
was always super proud of what he'd done. And whereas I would always be a bit shy of playing people, you know, new Skunk stuff, because I'd be a bit like, oh yeah, this is me. And, but he was always so proud of what he'd created, which I think is the right way, you know. But it was never obnoxious with it, or you know, it was always like lovely. And for him to always say, we read it loads of times, you know, that we were one of his favourite live bands was just such an amazing thing, really, to hear from your idols. You know, just like, that's just awesome. I could die happy now.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's
Lemmy loves us.
You got Lemmy's approval.
Exactly.
So you're one of the hardest hitting drummers I've ever seen live, right? And now as recently as well. Have you got any advice for any drummers, hard hitters out there? Do you break many sticks or cymbals?
My advice is don't do it.
Don't do it.
It costs a lot.
Yeah.
Not only does it cost, I'm going to turn the light on because it's
okay.
A bit.
That's fine. Yeah, it's cool. Hey, there you are.
Oh, now I'm in darkness. What that's done is light up the room and not me.
Oh, this is cool, man. We can see you. It's all good.
Anyway, that painting, my son, I just bought that from my son, who did that.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
It's very abstract, but
very abstract. Oh wow, so your son's an artist. Is he?
He is. He's an artist and a filmmaker and a musician. And
oh wow.
Yeah, he's really creative. It's great. Yeah.
Do you know if anyone wants to check out his art? Is there any way they can look online?
Not his artwork. He hasn't got a website for that yet. But his music, he's at Glue on Instagram. So at GLEU. Right.
Okay. There you go. Check that out, guys.
Alex, yeah, he's very talented. Very talented young man. And my wife is at Erica Official, I think. She's an artist in her own right. She also tours with us and does backing vocals and multi-instrumentalist and with Skunk, but she also does her own thing.
Right, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and she's in the other room behind that painting, teaching right now as we speak. So
wow. Busy.
She's head of, she's a module leader at ICMP, so she's very busy. So what was I saying before I turned the light on?
Yeah, sorry. Hard hitting drummer is very expensive.
Yeah, they're very expensive. Not only on your wallet, because you break lots of sticks and lots of skins and lots of cymbals, but also on your body. If you're gonna like now, I'm sort of starting to suffer with hands, wrists, elbows, shoulders, posture, neck. You know, too much head banging when I was a kid. So it's all starting. You know, and I'm 50 now, so it's starting to take its toll a little bit. So I would say it's great and it looks amazing when you're smashing the crap out of the kit, but there's a time and place for it. Like I used to just do it constantly for the whole show, no matter what, you know. But I'd say, you know, it's way more impressive if you save it for the right place in the set.
Okay,
you know,
that's interesting.
I wouldn't advise it just in terms of physicality, like a physical toll on your body over decades. If you're going to keep doing it, it's a really hard thing to do. So I like now, before every tour, I need to get really fit to be able to do that, because I can't just go out as a 50-year-old. You know, I can't just go out and play like that. I have to go and get fit. I don't know what Mickey does, or what Mickey did, rather.
No, but he's playing for Scorpions now.
Is he?
Yeah, he's a drummer in the Scorpions.
That's a good fit for him, isn't it?
It's a bit more chilled out, I guess. But he's playing big gigs anyway, so he's doing well for himself.
Oh, good stuff.
But
to send him a message. So,
do it, man. I want to get him on the show at some point.
yeah, that'd be cool. I love the Scorpions. So it's it looks amazing, and it makes the drum sound so good. But physically, I wouldn't advise it.
fair enough. Do you have any? So do you warm up before your gigs?
Yeah, I do some pad work.
Yeah.
So let's see if I can shine some light on my face here. There we go. I do a bit of pad work, and then now especially because I've got bifurcated shoulder tendons, which means they've basically split. So the tendons that hold your bicep onto your shoulder, these ones here,
yeah.
on both sides of that's it. Yeah,
I have a problem with my right one all the time. It flares up all the time. Yeah, so it sounds like a similar.
It could be similar thing, and basically what it happens is because you're doing the same thing. Because for years I didn't warm up at all. I didn't stretch. I didn't do anything, and then started doing lots of stuff in the gym because I was getting older and I needed to get fit. And then so I would just go to the gym and start doing loads of pull-ups and push-ups, and it just went ping. They just went twang like this, and what happens is they get fibrous and split. So if you imagine like an old piece of elastic with loads of strands in it, eventually the outer ones start to separate, and you're just left with the core bit in the middle, which obviously takes more of the strain. But if it's giving you like sharp pains, then it's probably the same thing.
Yeah,
it might be that, it might not be. So I just have to be really careful.
Yeah, well, I've got to see a lot of people about it, and it depends who I go and see. Yeah, someone's mentioned bicep tendon. Sometimes they just palm it off as rotator cuff injury, but I've looked into it, and there's supraspinatus, or I don't know, some tendon up there. But the problem is everyone's contradicting themselves and each other. So I haven't really solved the problem. I've seen a specialist, and they just said because it wasn't hurting at the time, I had to wait like 10 months for a specialist, and then it was fine. I wasn't experiencing any symptoms that time. And they were like, well, can't really do much. But it just flares up when I use it a lot. And like, I've kind of stopped going to the gym because it was when I was doing a bench press where I had my initial twang, and I was like, whoa. I had to put it down. I was like, right, that's not right. And it flares up on when I'm gigging. Press ups I don't do anymore because that seems to aggravate it. Unfortunately I'm just trying to live with it and trying to avoid aggravating it as much as possible. But drumming, it is very, and especially the kind of stuff we play. I don't hit as hard as you, but I try and make it look like I am. But everything's linked, and I'm like these days I'm a little bit younger than you. I'm 33, so. But I get all these aches and pains in my neck, sore all the time, and you've got to look after yourself. So if anyone is a lot younger than us, listen to our advice. Kind of take it easy, do your stretches and your warm ups, and especially muscles you're not thinking about. Like especially stretch your neck, left and right, forwards and backwards, because I think that can seriously. You don't realize you're using your neck, but you are. But should you break cymbals? That's interesting. I wasn't sure.
You froze again, then, mate.
Did I froze? I said,
yeah.
Yeah, it's all the time. I said, so you do break cymbals and sticks as well.
You're talking about the neck.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. I was just saying about you don't think about your neck. You're thinking about your limbs when you're playing drums. But you really need to stretch your neck before a show.
So basically, a lot of my problems stemmed from my neck, from head banging as a kid and damaging. Your head's really heavy, and when you're chucking that about like this, it's not good for you. It's really not good for you. So eventually that took a toll on the tour, and I was halfway through the tour and I popped 2 discs in my neck.
Oof.
And I was playing like this because I couldn't lift my arm up. I couldn't do that. So I was kind of just getting through the tour by just holding my arm in and playing as well as I could like this. This one was fine. So this one was doing all the work, but then that's when that happened. My shoulder bifurcated on that side because I was doing too much with that hand.
Yeah.
And then when I got home and I got my neck looked at, and then I had injections of particulate steroids into the discs to inflate them, so that it took the pressure off the nerves, and it freed my arm up. So if you don't want that, then do your stretches, pay attention to your posture, pay attention to your posture, do exercises that bring your shoulders back and that straighten your neck up, and if you're going to have a long career in music, in playing the drums, then you need to pay attention to that stuff now. Even if you're young, it's a really good, because I don't know about you, Dane, but I'll find, like, I've straightened myself up now, but in 10 seconds I'll be doing this again.
I know,
and it's just bad habits.
It's bad, and it's, I don't know, do you have a backrest on your drum stool or anything like that? Or have you ever tried that?
I do, I do. I've one of the Tama throws, which is quite good.
I know the one.
And Davies stuff, which I use live, they've got like a full on backrest, so I can just sort of just take a minute and stretch backwards without fear of falling off. So
nice. That's worth doing then. I've got a Patreon page. I don't know if you know what that is, but one of my patrons has got a question for you, if that's all right.
Oh yeah, of course.
His name's Gareth Richards. So hi, Gareth. Thanks for your question.
Hi, Gareth.
Which style of music do you prefer playing? What I mean is it perhaps the more gentle, laid-back style of Feeder? That's debatable. The classic rock of Little Angel, or the rawness, brash style that Skunk Anansie has?
Oh,
is it easy to adapt to each style?
Yeah, I mean, with Skunk, we're 1 minute we're playing a ballad, the next minute we're playing Skankheads, and then the next minute we're playing, Ugly Boy. So you've got like ballad, mid-tempo stomper, and then like just nutty, fucking weird punk, prog song. So it's like it's really there's everything in there that you could possibly. I think it depends on the set, but sometimes, like the last Skunk set was like really intense for about half the set, and then we got a chance to just chill out on a couple of songs. So it's really nice to get to the slower, more ballady ones or the mid-tempo ones when you've got a set that's like really sort of intense at the beginning. And probably my favourite ones to play are the the Charlie Big Potatoes, the Skankheads, just the ones that are just a bit weird,
Yeah, man.
Yes, it's fucking political, those kinds of things, just the ones that are a bit well, I guess just a bit odd times and weird arrangements and just not very normal.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, because if you're playing normal stuff for 2 hours or hour and a half, I guess you need something to keep you on your toes. So when one of those songs comes up, I guess it's like, oh, I like this one, it's fun.
Yeah. Having said that, I did a year or so with Amy MacDonald as a session player.
Okay.
And that was one of the most enjoyable times I've had as a drummer, and that was was really lovely, to go and play her sort of, I guess it's kind of folky pop, and that was just a really nice change, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Awesome. I'll check that out. Yeah.
So I've loved all the bands that I've been in. I've really enjoyed just being a musician and then living from it. So I think if I had to sort of pick one style, it would be almost impossible, because like you say, it's just nice to get the move from one style to another, and just play lots of different kinds of things.
Awesome. Good answer. I think I would kind of agree with you then. It depends, and it depends on how you're fefeeling on that day and stuff as well.
It does, yeah.
So I'm coming to the end now. Sorry to keep you.
Yeah.
Have you you're into your motorcycles? I know a few of my listeners are as well. Can you tell us about some of the kind of events you've been a part of in Africa and stuff like that I've read about?
Yeah, so I've been around. I've done quite a few trips, quite a few long trips. I've done Africa 3 times. I've done India with my wife on the back.
Oh wow!
We went from Goa, then down through the middle of India, and ended up in Cochin in the south.
Wow!
And that was an amazing trip. Where else have I been? Done quite a lot. Those were with Riders for Health. Are now called Two Wheels for Life. So the Africa ones especially were through Southern Africa mainly, and just checking out, and Zambia and the Gambia as well. And Zambia is an amazing country, and we rode through it, and we were taken to, on the last trip I did, I was the official photographer for the trip, and we did we saw some amazing not being very clear. We met some amazing health workers and visited some health centres, and you can't underestimate the difference a motorcycle makes to those people, because it's the difference between walking 25 miles to deliver a sample of blood, or take a sample of blood, and then walking 25 miles back as a doctor, then sending it off to get tested. But more often than not, by the time it gets to the laboratory, it's spoiled. So the results.
Wow.
So with a motorcycle, they can go, they can get there in about 25 minutes, take the blood sample, and they can do another few villages, and then go back, send them all off. All the blood samples are, they're kept cool, they're not spoiled. They get the results quickly, and they can dispatch those results quickly as well. So, make a massive difference. And that was really the work that I did with them, was sort of raising money to provide motorcycles for Two Wheels for Life, or Riders for Health, as they still are in Africa. They're Two Wheels for Life now in Europe, but and that's the work that they do. But yeah, I've done loads of trips with my wife. We love going on biking holidays and just loading up the bike and going camping and getting Airbnbs and just riding around. We did Scotland a couple of times. We did Scotland rather, and New Zealand, and that was in a camper van. We did New Zealand, but yeah, Scotland we did. I just did it again. Actually, I just did a bike trip from Lizard Point in Cornwall to John O'Groats.
What?
Last week.
Oh wow! I timed as well then.
Yeah, and that was just for fun. That was as a marshal with the Malay London boys who run this trip every year, and it's all on tiny little roads, coastal roads, and there's no motorways. There's very little dual carriageway, and it was an awesome trip. And then we just camp every night and have some amazing food, sit around a campfire and talk rubbish.
Sounds amazing.
And I need to have these little adventures. I do. It's sort of part of what keeps me happy, and especially at the moment when things are so uncertain. We've got to have these little things that just give us a little boost. So yeah, we did that. We took 50 riders from Lizard Point to John O'Groats and had a good time. Yeah, it was
fantastic.
Fun.
I'm sure you did. Right. Awesome. So this is my last question that I ask everyone.
Yeah.
So not including members of Skunk Anansie, if you could make your own dream band with yourself on drums, who would be the other members of the band, dead or alive?
Hello, mate. Where have you been? The door's open. God knows where you've been.
What's his name?
That's Purdy.
Purdy.
Come here. He's run outside.
Is that after Bernard?
No, it's after the gun. But we rescued him from a gamekeeper who had Purdy guns. But,
right, okay.
yeah, unfortunately. But that's, the new story is, it's after the
drummer.
the drummer. God, I guess it'd have to be. Let's see. It'd have to be maybe Dave Grohl would have to be in there.
Cool.
Probably on on bass. Let's put him on bass.
Chuck him on bass?
Yeah, and then maybe vocals. He's
We could
such a great voice.
Yeah.
Let's have Lemmy on bass and Jimi Hendrix on guitar.
Awesome.
And
that would be amazing.
I think something like that. That is so hard. You put me on the spot.
Yeah, I do it every time. It is hard. It is hard. No, man, that with you, Dave Grohl, Lemmy, and Jimi Hendrix. If only you could actually put that together. Wonder if there was software out there that could like get samples from each musician and kind of stick it in the right key, and that would be. I reckon that's something that could be done one day.
It's a business idea. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We need something at this point. Something that doesn't involve live music.
Exactly.
But man, thanks so much for taking the time to chat to me. Anyway, I hope we've had fun. I've really enjoyed what you've had to say, and I've learned a lot of interesting things.
Fun, actually, but good. Well, it's always weird when you sort of bang on about yourself so much, but we're renovating, like I said at the beginning, we're renovating this place. But out there behind the computer is just a nice. It's just a never-ending garden, which is lovely, but it takes so much work, and so I just get lost in that now at the moment because it's a nice thing to do, and I just forget about everything. Just get out in the garden and forget about what's going on really, and just lose myself in that. And I mean, I say garden, it's an acre of dirt at the moment.
All right.
Just had it all. We had a digger in there last week and had it all graded and stuff. So it's just mud at the moment.
Oh, wow.
I say garden, it's just mud.
That's quite funny because my garden's in a similar state at the moment because I've been trying to re-turf it all summer. Yeah. So I kind of dug it all up myself. I had a quote from someone local and I was like, I'd rather do it myself than pay you that. But I've spent days and days and days getting rid of all the turf, shaking off all the soil. And I'm refusing to get a skip. I'm going to get rid of it all myself gradually. And at the moment, it's just dirt. I'm waiting to see what the forecast is for next week. And I'm going to order some turf, and my father-in-law is going to help me lay it, which is nice because he knows what he's doing. But yeah, man, similar story. My God, but mine isn't as big as yours by the sound of it.
Well, we bought it for this plot, and the house was falling down. We had the inside, all of this space it was all like little rooms, and they were all made out of asbestos boarding. Oh, wow. So when we bought it, all the windows were rotten. It was full of asbestos stud walls. The roof was falling down. That wall, it was being pushed down by the roof. So we lived in a caravan for most of last year while we did like a lot of the renovation, and it's kind of been my savior really. This place, it's an absolute labour of love, but we're getting there. It's very slow because we have to, when we get a bit of cash in, and then we can spend it, and what we're going to do this month sort of thing, and more often than not, it's just a continuation of like. A bit of the garden, or we'll get a tool to be able to cut. Like what was plunge saw? What's the last thing I bought? So you can cut long bits of wood on a rail kind of thing, so you get them dead straight. But
nice.
We save up for each thing, and each little step is hard won and hard fought for. And it's a lot of work, but it's a labour of love, and we're happy, and hopefully we can be here a long time. So, and eventually I'll get my containers made back into my drum room.
Yeah, that sounds
so start
really
playing
good,
again.
Man. That'd be amazing. We just smash it out every now and again. Awesome, man. Well, I'll let you get on with your evening. So
nice one.
Thanks so much
talking
again.
to you. No problem.
And you've been amazing. So thanks again. I'm sorry about the internet. I had it my side as well, but
it's not a problem. It'd be nice to talk to you and ask you some questions about your life and your career at some point. So maybe we'll have that conversation.
I'd love to. That'd be amazing. Thank you. Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Well,
Cool.
you got my contact now, and
I'll
I'll drop you a line when this is ready to go out.
Okay.
And just in case you want to, if you want to post it on something, that would be amazing. But I don't expect you to definitely want to do that.
Of course I will.
It'd be very helpful. Thanks.
Yeah,
okay, man. Have a great evening, and thanks again.
You too.
Cheers.
Cheers, Dane. Take care.
Cheers. Bye now.
Bye.
Drum for the Song podcast.
I really hope you enjoyed that episode, guys. I learned a lot about Mark. I knew a lot about his drumming with Feeder and Skunk Anansie, but to be honest, I didn't know anything about his addiction problems. I'd never listened to Little Angels before, so I'm definitely going to go and check that band out now. But I'm sure you'll agree, he seems like a completely cool, down-to-earth guy, and he seems to really want to help other people, which is great. Please let me know what you thought by either leaving a comment in the comment section on YouTube, or please leave a review if you're listening to me on a podcast app, which allows you to do that. But if you enjoyed this episode, you can go back and check out any of my other episodes before this. And for anyone who really wants to support me because you think you'll enjoy more podcast content from myself, I do have a Patreon page at the moment. It's www.patreon.com/drumforthesong. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's a website for creators and for fans of the creators to kind of support financially by donating like a monthly sum. And in return, I will try and make it worth your while by giving you back some exclusive content. For example, I do one bonus episode per month that you can access that if you pay £3 a month, and any of the other tiers up from that. But if you look at the other tiers, you can also get access to my monthly Q&A session that I do via Zoom, which is really great because I get to meet some of you guys. On the higher tier, I can give you a shout out and I'll put you in the episode description. And I can also get you a free ticket to one of my gigs with Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. So while we're on the topic, I'd like to give a massive thanks to my top tier Groove Master patrons. We've got Dean S. Monaghan, Rudy Pauly, Gareth Richards, and Dan Hurst. It's been great to chat to some of these guys on the Zoom Q&A session, so get involved. At the moment, as most of you are probably in similar situations, we've gone back into, I guess, a second wave lockdown. All of our gigs with Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons have been cancelled or postponed to next year. So the only gig I've actually played this year was Dep in for another drummer in January, and I got paid £50. So in the meantime, I'm looking for other ways to pay my bills, I suppose. So supporting me via Patreon is really, really helpful, more than you probably realise. So thanks to everyone who already does. It really means a lot. Thank you. If you really want to support me, but you don't really fancy a monthly donation, that's cool as well. You can go to supporter.acast.com/drum-for-the-song, and you can just make a one-off donation for any amount you want, really. And it all gets to me eventually. So that's another option for anyone who just wants to help me out. Thank you. I won't babble on for too much longer now. I just want to make sure that you're all subscribed to the podcast wherever you're listening. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell button, because then YouTube will notify you whenever I release a new episode or a trailer. And if anyone would be so kind as to share the podcast on their social media so their friends can hear about it, that is more helpful than you realize. So feel free to do that. And until next time, and don't forget to drum for the song.